So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the Express citing an actual expert on trade when it comes to the Northern Ireland Protocol and the trade border. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Something weird's going on at the Express, because normally they come out with nonsense articles, but they do what they always do, is quote this man verbatim and offer no actual commentary, which I will do on this video. But they interviewed someone called Dr. Fabian Zuleeg. And boy, did he drop some truth bombs on him. So this is just insane. This is the Express, not the Guardian, by the way. I just can't believe it. He goes, the deal that Boris Johnson's government negotiated leaves no room for any other solution than a trade barrier in the Irish Sea, according to the Chief Executive of European Policy, Senator Fabian Zuleeg. Both the European Union and the UK agreed to implement customs checks in the Irish Sea to avoid a border between the two islands. So he's talking about Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And obviously there can't be a border there because of the Good Friday Agreement and, the past. This would, directly breach the Good Friday Agreement. But now the Unionists argue the Irish Sea border is creating problems like worsening the cost of living crisis, which is not 100% true. Groceries are cheaper in Northern Ireland than they are in GB. And this further separating of Northern Ireland from Great Britain, which obviously is not happening geographically, but it's a weird identity obsession they have. They refuse to form a government in Northern Ireland until all of their concerns are addressed, and that's not how democracy works, I'm afraid, because if it was, we'd have a much better run country if everyone listened to me. But obviously that's not a good idea. Don't listen to me. Point being is that you can't adhere to one party's whims, especially in an area which requires cross-community consent. The DUP can't argue, oh, you have to listen to us, otherwise we're not going to participate. It's just silly. Dr. Zuleeg said, what we have is Brexit created a dilemma for Northern Ireland because the UK decided to leave the single market and the customs union, which is true. But the thing is, even if we had just stayed in the single market, we'd still face trade barriers. There are still trade barriers between Norway and its EU neighbours. There are still checks that happen. That implies that there has to be a border somewhere. There can be a lot which is done to make that border at least less visible as possible, but there will be an international border somewhere, and that's the issue. Where do you put the trade border? This actually looks like an interesting story. I'll keep this one. I'll probably read that myself. So you can come into the question of what is the alternative? What is the alternative Brexiteers are offering? We had one alternative that was proposed by Theresa May. That was obviously the backstop idea, and that was rejected. That was rejected politically in the UK. That was a massive, it's just absolute nightmare. The deal which Boris Johnson then made was the current arrangement, which means there are checks in the Irish Sea. Those were the only options on the table: checks in the Irish Sea or the backstop. Anything else would have resulted in no deal. And now we're seeing the consequences of that. To now say that we have to scrap those checks within the Irish Sea cannot be an answer, because it comes back to the dilemma we had before, which is, where do you put the border? That's the key problem. Zuleeg continued, unless the UK would now agree to rejoin the single market and customs union, which that cannot happen because it would have to go through EFTA, and Norway have said you're not joining EFTA, pal. So again, it's very difficult to see what the future is. One does not simply rejoin the single market. He says, I cannot see the UK going back into the backstop, which eventually also implied single market membership or a customs union for the UK. So talking about essentially having to make these checks in the Irish Sea work, because this is it. This is the only way to make things work. And I don't know if the UK scraps the protocol. I don't know what happens. It's going to require a very sharp reaction from the EU, because essentially the UK would be putting a hole in the EU single market, which obviously isn't great, and kind of defeats one of the purposes of the EU, which is you want free movement of goods within the bloc, not for third countries. But yeah, someone dropping some truth bombs on the Express, which very surprising given the usual dross they put out. I don't think this is necessarily a change for them. They just spoke to someone. Maybe they needed to fill up an article, for example, and they did it. And there's some actually good stuff here. I do wonder, how bad are the comments? Should we have a quick look at the comments? Let's see. I agree. Said all along. These folks get these folk to pay attention to us, to put a damp order. If that's how you want to play, good riddance. Both sides are using this as a can-kicking issue. No one's putting up a border. Exists. There has to be a border between two trading nations, WTO rules. By the way, the DUP have the only logical solution. No matter how much manure is stirred up about it, it's all about the manure. People work with each other or they won't. What the hell does that even mean? We have to leave the EU to control our borders. now turn around and say, actually, we do not want to control our borders. If we could only harness all the spinning Brexiteers, we wouldn't have an energy crisis. Do you need a dictionary? You do not need to. You don't have to buy one. There's several online are just questioning someone's English. Your comment makes no sense, and your spelling. If the EU want a border, let them have one. They can control it on their own. This is the key problem. This is one of the things Brexiteers always say: is if the EU want to put in a border, then fine. We're not going to do that. And someone saying you don't know much about Northern Ireland's history, but it's pretty funny. If you want to read this, go for it in your own time. But I thought there'd be some bangers down there, and there are a few clangers. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Shouts out Dr. Zuleeg here, going to the Express and actually telling them the truth. I'm amazed. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.